We're here with Neal Mohan, Vice President Display Advertising with Google, just off the stage at IAB Innovation Days at Internet Week. He spoke a bit about a user revolution, putting users more in the conversation of the industry. What actually does that mean, and what needs to happen to bring users front and center?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think fundamentally the point that I was trying to get across is actually using technology, but using that in the user's interest. So that could mean anything from much more engaging formats, interactivity, creativity, video, rich media, much more relevant ads that are truly customized and personal for the users, better ways to actually measure those ads so that the measurement that we're using is something that is user-centric. And then finally, putting much more control and choice in the hands of users, because users are telling us that they would like to actually have a control over the types of advertising that they're looking for. And if we do that, a full 2/3 of them would actually say that display is their favorite format.
One thing I recall you speaking about is a change almost in the level of inventory and the number of impressions served. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so what I was trying to convey was, it's okay for the number of ads that users see over the course of a day to actually fall, as long as those ads are much, much more relevant and useful and engaging and interactive, so that we can actually make that emotional connection through creativity at scale with the user. Because then, instead of saying, you seeing 100 ads a day, maybe you only see 75, but those 75 are a lot more engaging and useful to you. I think that would be a better experience for you as the user, which of course is going to translate into more valuable advertising for advertisers and agencies, and of course that's going to translate into more revenue for our publishers.
Changing measurement, inventory levels, display ad formats into much more complex, engaging, and innovative styles is a big change. How do you suggest publishers make the first step and start to concretely make these changes in their day-to-day business?
Yeah, I think you hit on a key point there, which is the first step. Publishers should do this step by step. This technology is going to evolve over the course of the next few years. The best way to do it is not some big bang, some magical formula. It's through experimentation, listening to what your audience is telling you to do. Experimenting by perhaps pulling down an ad, but making the remaining ads much more relevant in terms of the context that page represents, much more relevant in terms of who the audience is on that particular page, and the technology to actually do this at scale already exists. And then in terms of measurement, it really is orienting your advertisers as a publisher around what some of these new metrics can be. When I talk about measurement, that happens to be the area that our publishers are most excited about, because all of our publishers are looking to get beyond just impressions and clicks. And so adopting that in pilot campaigns with advertisers, incorporating more rich media and video formats, that's something that's pretty straightforward. The technology exists. It can work with your existing monetization solutions and ad-serving technologies today. And so those are examples of some steps that publishers could start taking today towards that user-centric goal.
Great. You also talked about mobile and tablets a bit, and the theme of today is the future of display. How do mobile and tablets fit into the future of display?
Yeah, so I think the first most important fact is that smartphone adoption and tablet adoption is growing so fast that they're going to overtake desktops and laptops at some point in the near future, probably in the next couple of years. What that means is that there's now this entirely new distribution format and channel for all publishers, both in terms of their content as well as in terms of their advertising. But what it also means is that what you can actually do from an advertising standpoint is much more broad than existed on laptops to date. So, I gave some examples about interactivity, but interactivity not just in terms of moving your mouse around, interactivity in terms of what you can actually do with the device. I mean, if you think about it, a mobile phone has sight. It has a camera. It's got touch. It's got mobility. So take advantage of all of those characteristics of that smartphone into your advertising. And that's an area that Google's investing in very heavily. I talked about some of the formats that we released, but I think it's really the tip of the iceberg. A lot more innovation in terms of formats, interactivity are going to come there in the near future.
I was going to ask you about new formats. The Google-produced Rising Star IAB billboard is gaining traction in the marketplace. I'm wondering what else you have on the coming in the forefront.
Yeah, we're extremely excited about that. We want to, while I'm not going to get into some of the specific formats, you can think of some of the ways that we're approaching this problem are to combine, rich, very large canvases on desktops, on tablets, on smartphones, with customization. So imagine taking, some of that Terracent technology that I talked about in terms of truly customizing the ads and marrying them with some of these rich video-oriented, rich media-oriented formats. That's the direction that we're heading in, and I think that's going to be a huge boon for our publisher partners.
Last question. Last fall, you spoke with IAB one-on-one on about a similar topic, and you mentioned ad ops complexity as a really, big challenge in creating more powerful, creative brand advertising. How at all has this challenge been changed or alleviated over the last 8 months?
That's a great question, and it's been an area that we've been focused on. We're going to continue to remain focused on. The stat that I used back then was that 28 cents of every display dollar gets eaten up in friction. Our goal is to get that down to something like 2%. We're making inroads there in terms of some of the innovation you've seen on our DoubleClick platform for publishers, incorporating mobile and video, all from the same place that publishers manage their graphical inventory. Some of the controls that we're building seamlessly into our ad exchange in terms of yield management capabilities. So all of those things are coming together to reduce that complexity for our publishers while at the same time helping them generate more revenue.
Great. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.